Ambassador Zara Kowalski stood before the Galactic Senate's emergency session, her expression unchanged as the most powerful beings in the known galaxy prostrated themselves before humanity's representative. The irony wasn't lost on her. These same creatures had laughed at Earth's legal framework just 3 solar cycles ago. Ambassador Kowalski, wheezed Senator Vexthar, his crystalline form flickering with distress. Surely humanity can reconsider. The consortium's actions were regrettable. Zara's fingers drummed against the podium, each tap echoing through the vast chamber like a countdown to judgment. Regrettable, she repeated, her voice cutting through the silence. Is that what you call the systematic exploitation of 17 worlds? The enslavement of the Kepler colonies? The genocide on New Avalon? 3 years earlier, Earth had petitioned for membership in the Galactic Senate, offering their legal system as a contribution to galactic civilization. The response had been unanimous mockery. The Zephyrian delegate had dismissed human laws as primitive emotional nonsense. The hegemony representative called them quaint restrictions for a species that barely understood faster-than-light travel. The Senate's own legal framework was elegantly simple, might made right, with disputes settled through economic warfare, territorial conquest, or selective extinction. Efficient, they claimed. Evolved, they insisted. Humanity had been relegated to observer status, permitted to watch, forbidden to participate, eternally reminded of their inadequacy. The first sign of trouble came when the Nexus Consortium, a megacorporation spanning 40 systems, began its Resource Liberation Initiative. Entire civilizations found themselves indentured overnight through deliberately incomprehensible contracts. Worlds that refused cooperation faced economic blockades that slowly strangled their populations. The Senate watched with detached interest. Market dynamics, they reasoned, natural selection at a civilizational scale. But humanity had been watching too, and taking notes. Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's foremost xenosociologist, had spent those 3 years studying every species, every government, every corporate entity in Senate space. She mapped their weaknesses, their dependencies, their secrets, all perfectly legally, using the galaxy's own information networks. Meanwhile, Commander James Liu had been quietly building relationships with the forgotten species, the exploited worlds, the corporate victims that the Senate dismissed as acceptable casualties, not through military might, but through something the galaxy had forgotten. Genuine aid with no strings attached. The breakthrough came when the Kepler colony crisis reached its zenith. The Nexus Consortium's debt slavery operation had trapped nearly 2 billion beings in perpetual servitude. Under galactic law, perfectly legal. Under human law, utterly abhorrent. That's when Ambassador Kowalski made her move. She invoked an obscure Senate regulation, one designed to mock species, like humanity, that allowed any member to propose a cultural exchange protocol. The proposal was simple. Any entity operating within Senate space must comply with the legal framework of all member species simultaneously. The Senate approved it unanimously, seeing it as another opportunity to humiliate the humans. After all, what could Earth's primitive laws possibly accomplish against the sophisticated realities of galactic commerce? The answer came swiftly and mercilessly. Within days, human legal scholars had filed 17,000 separate charges against the Nexus Consortium across 40 systems. Charges for slavery, fraud, conspiracy, racketeering, and crimes against sapience, all backed by 3 years of meticulously gathered evidence. But the genius lay in the mechanism. Human law didn't just punish, it provided restitution. Every victim was entitled to compensation. Every illegal profit faced triple damages. Every violation triggered mandatory asset forfeiture. The consortium's assets began hemorrhaging faster than a breached hull-venting atmosphere. Their corporate charters faced revocation across multiple systems. Their executives found themselves facing personal liability for decisions made decades prior. Other megacorporations watched in horror as the contagion spread. Humanity's legal framework, it turned out, had evolved not from weakness, but from necessity. When you couldn't simply annihilate your opponents, you had to develop systems that actually worked. The Senate's first instinct was to revoke the Cultural Exchange Protocol, but it was too late. The legal mechanisms were already in motion, and stopping them would require unanimous consent, including from Earth. That's when the begging began. "We were hasty in our assessment," admitted Chancellor Korath, his pride visibly crumbling. "Perhaps humanity's approach has merit." Zara smiled thinly. "Oh, you haven't seen anything yet." The second phase had already begun. Human lawyers, working with liberated worlds, were challenging the foundational assumptions of galactic commerce. They questioned the legality of territorial claims, the validity of exploitative contracts, the ethics of economic warfare. More importantly, they offered alternatives: mutual aid agreements, fair trade compacts, cooperative defense networks, all operating outside the Senate's traditional power structures. "The consortium seeks mercy," Senator Vexthar continued desperately. "Surely reasonable beings can negotiate." "Reasonable beings," Zara interrupted, "would never have created this system in the first place." She gestured to the gallery, where representatives from dozens of liberated worlds watched silently. "You called our laws primitive, emotional, inefficient. But here's what you never understood. They weren't designed to be efficient. They were designed to be just." The chamber fell silent except for the gentle hum of life support systems. Systems that, Zara noted with satisfaction, were manufactured by companies that had just switched to human-backed cooperative ownership models. "Humanity will consider your request for mercy," she announced finally. "Under our legal framework, of course. I'm sure you'll find our appeal process thoroughly documented." As she left the podium, Zara allowed herself a moment of genuine satisfaction. The galaxy had learned a hard truth. There was something far more powerful than might, more enduring than conquest, more evolutionary than exploitation. There was justice, and humanity had spent 10,000 years perfecting it. Behind her, the most powerful beings in the galaxy began the long process of learning what it meant to face consequences for their actions. They had mocked Earth's laws as the weakness of a young species. Now they were discovering they were humanity's strength.